Hello and welcome to this episode of the Hot Pink Pod. I am your host, President of Alpha Omega Lambda Sorority, Camille Jamerson. It's my pleasure today to bring you a really interesting but important subject. And this subject happened to come up in one of our sister chats. We usually jump in and share what's going on, share our wins. And the soror that I'm going to introduce to you in a moment had an incredible win that had to do with her daughter and how she coached her through the art of negotiation. And some of us may take that for granted because we know how to negotiate in different spaces. But I had to think about that. Like, everybody doesn't know what nuances or things they should bring to the table when negotiating or asking for more. So I immediately went in our chat and private messaged her, and I'm like, oh my God, this should be a hot pink pod. Are you interested? And she obliged me. So would you guys help me welcome to the show my soror, Soror Shvonne? Put your hands together and clap for my soror. Hey, how are you?
I am good. How are you doing?
All is well. All is well. Thank you. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. As I said in the opening, when we were talking about that in the chat, I was like cheering, like, yes. And then I thought, but then, in listening to some of the other comments, I'm like, wait, everybody doesn't know how to do that. We take that for granted. So let's start with the background, the story. What happened with your daughter, and then share kind of what advice you gave her and what that helped her to do.
Yeah. So my youngest daughter, she actually at her job, she was coming up on her annual review and she was doing some research and noticed that there was kind of a salary gap in what she was doing because she had moved into a new role but didn't get a new salary. And I was like, okay. She's like, so mom, I want to kind of try to get here, but the bump was pretty big to get from where she was. And she said
Was
historically they were only giving small amounts every year. And I said, okay, well we can definitely work on that and see because you want to have your research. You can't just go in there talking because then if you go in there talking, you're just really complaining. So nobody wants to hear that.
I
They
like
want to
that.
hear some solutions. And so we went through, did the research on what it is, where the gap was, how much she needed to get to, and then that's where we started formulating a plan on how we can get her there and how to actually approach them.
I love that. So, what advice did you end up giving her? Like, did you kind of tell her what to say? And how did you even know
Yeah.
all of this
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah. So it comes from long years of me making all those mistakes because you don't know
Same.
what you don't know. And if you don't
No.
have someone there to tell you, then you just go along with whatever because as women historically we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want people feeling uncomfortable. We don't want to create these situations where it's like they're going to feel like this way about me and I don't want that environment. And so over the years people would say, okay, well this is what it is, and I just go, okay, and never ever said anything.
Never question it.
Never
Yeah.
questioned it, never said, well, what about this? Or can I do this? Or can I? Never, just said, okay, and took whatever I was getting. And that was the wrong thing to do because as I grew in my career and climbed the ladder and got on the other side of that equation and realized that there's always room to negotiate. We never start with the first offer.
Burst
We
them out.
never
Yep.
start with any, there's so many things that someone can ask for, but they never do. And I was like, well, I have daughters and I'm not going to have them end up like that. There's no reason
Yeah.
for them to do that because men do those things all the time. They'll ask for stuff even when they're not really do it. Or they
And or not even qualified. It's like they'll figure it out. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna, ask for such. I know I can't do all that, but I will by the time I have to do it. That's how
exactly.
they think. I had
And
no idea until like I
and
climbed
yep.
up the ladder and looked.
And so I had her do her research first. I said, yeah, I need you to get some actual real data on the
So
salary
important.
for that role in that
Role.
area. She went the extra step and found some job listings in that area as well, paying for that, paying what she was asking for. And so then we went through and I talked through some of the things she did, the accomplishments she did, how the people in the office feel about her, the things they're saying to her. And then I had her kind of pitch me. I'm like, okay, I'm the person. Now you need to talk to me as if I'm the person, and you want to
Right.
try to get
I
that
love
get
that.
that
So
bump.
like a rehearsal.
Yes, and I said, there's no. The answer
Hmm.
can never be no. The answer is either yes or there's a plan to get to where you want to be. There's no.
Ooh.
Either it's a yes, they're going to give you what you
Yeah.
asked for, or they're going to give you what you asked for in time, and we're going to create a plan to get there.
Gosh, I love this.
So,
So first thing you
yeah.
told her to get her data together, then you guys practice kind of
Hmm.
drills and you taught her that there is no no. I love that.
Yeah.
I love
Yes.
that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes. No. Because if you accept the no, then it makes it easier for them in the future to just be like, well, no, we're not really doing that, and which is not true. Which is
Yeah,
definitely not true. If they really value you and want to keep you there, and especially the fact that she found other jobs that she had in her
that's
head in her
epic.
back pocket, like I
Because
can
now
go.
y'all look bad. Yeah, it's like now
Exactly.
y'all look bad because compared to what's out there, you're lacking. So I could actually do this if y'all don't want to meet it.
And so,
That's kind of what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah. And she was like, I'm nervous. And then the day of, she was like, I'm not nervous. She's like, I'm not nervous. I'm like, okay,
Good
that's
for
good.
her.
But I feel like that's because she practiced. She had the information she needed. She understood her worth in that organization based on the things we talked about. And so she went in,
Yeah,
and then later on, she was like, yeah, they said yes, they said yes. And she was like, there was no plan. They just said yes. They said, we
I
know
love
we
it.
value you. We know you are very valuable in the organization. So, yes.
Wow. Knowing your worth too. I don't want to skip over that because I think that's important too. And one of the things that I tell some of my clients is that you need to create what I call um, kind of a list,
Hmm.
a war room list. So on the days that you have a bad day, you can kind of read all the things that you went to war, you accomplished, you got done, because you will easily forget all the
Hmm.
things that you've done for an organization over the course of time. And when you need that stuff for a raise or for a different position or what have you, you'll go blank as to
Yes.
what your value really is.
Yes, I'm glad you said that because I tell both of all the kids, I told both of my daughters, I'm like, you make sure you write things down. If somebody sends you a good email, you save that. If somebody
Save it.
tells you
Yeah.
something, you write that down. You keep your own little notes, your spreadsheet or whatever it is that on this date, this person said this and this happened in this conversation. That way, when you are having these larger conversations about raises or promotions or whatever it is, you can pull out this long list of all
Yep.
the things that show that I'm valuable here because this person is this and this and this and this and this. And she works for, a law firm. So it's partners and other things like that. So they're very like they don't hand out compliments very often, as we
Right.
know, lawyers. So when you get those things, it's valuable.
It's interesting that you say that they're lawyers too, because I didn't know that part. What is cool about that is that she handled them the way that they handle cases. She
Hmm.
got facts, she presented her case, she argued her case to a degree, and they were like,
Hmm.
well, we got a rule in her favor, actually, because that's even how they think as attorneys or lawyers. So, what an incredible
Yeah.
strategy. Thinking about other women out there, what do they get wrong, just in your own experience or others that you know? What do they get wrong before they even get to the negotiation table?
Um, I think a lot of times, and speaking for me personally, I think one of the things that we get wrong is thinking that what what they're saying is what is available, and that's just not the case. What they're saying is a starting point, and I've
Mm-hmm.
taught over the time I've taught mentors, I'm like, whatever it is, don't ever accept the first thing they say to you. Don't if even if it's like at the max of what it is, even if it's what you already asked for. Like if you ask for a certain salary and they give you that, don't accept it. Ask for something else because you know what? If they gave it to you that easy, there's more to be had.
There's
So
more. Come
you can
on.
ask for something else. You can negotiate on, and you can keep going. You can because after you have those conversations and they make the offer, you know more about the job. You know more about what's going to happen. You know more now because you've had conversations. So you have more context that you can
Yep.
use and say, hey, well, now that we've had these conversations and I have a full understanding of what it is that I'm going to be doing, I feel that based on these conversations that X is where I feel I should be and where I feel we should be for a role like this.
Now,
You
how
don't
did you
have to.
feel about adding or including other things aside from salary, like asking for more time off or
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah, what I mean, are those things that you bring to the table initially, or you kind of save those for like if they don't budge here, you can ask for those things?
Well, I mean, I would start with the salary and then bring other things onto the table depending on what they
Mhm.
said. But I think it's all about
Mhm.
what's important to you. Because
I agree.
if having more time off is important to you, then negotiate and ask for an extra week of time off. Because if you start at a company and they only give you a 1 week a year, and you really want to start with 2 weeks a year, ask for that
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
that's more valuable. And a lot of times, those things are easier to negotiate on than actual money. Them giving
Yeah.
you an extra week off is equivalent to a week's worth of pay. But on the back
Mhm.
end, when they're doing the books and all those other things, it's a lot easier to give you time off. It's a lot easier for them to maybe subsidize some of your insurance payments if
Yeah.
if you're getting benefits through them. It's a lot easier for them to do those things than to do the salary anyway. So if you
Yeah.
want to
What
negotiate on those things, you can definitely ask for them. Nothing's off the table. The worst they can do is say no. What we can do is this.
I love that. And if an employer wants you, they'll figure out how to get it done.
Mhm.
Really, they really will. And I know that just because of how my assistant negotiated with me. When I started, I mean, my budget was tight. I knew what I had to work with and I knew what I didn't. And I'm like, this is it. I ain't trying to play with you. This is what I have to work with. This is what's included in the scope. And so, what she asked for, because she was in school, and so
Mhm.
she asked for um, 50%, I think it was, tuition reimbursement. And at first in my head, I was like, I can't do no. But then I thought about it in retrospect. I'm like, wait, that's a write-off. I can do that.
Mhm.
And I went to work as to how I could make that happen for her because I value her. And I
Mhm.
value what she brought to the table. So I totally agree that if they want you, they'll figure out how to make it happen. And there are other things aside from salary that
Mhm.
employers will negotiate on or make it or are easier to give you. Because whereas I couldn't see how I could make a bump in salary work, reimbursing every quarter, I think it was, for a part of her tuition, I was like, oh, I could swing that because then I could write that off on my taxes and then I'll get that back and blah, blah, blah. And
Mhm.
I just figured out how to make that
Yeah.
work. So I love that strategy as well. Now,
Mhm.
normally when we talk about negotiation as a strategy, we're talking about, in the workplace, but women negotiate in everyday life, like cars or buying a house or a contractor. How can these same strategies be used in other places, you think?
So I do think you can definitely use these anywhere, whether you're negotiating, because if you have kids and other things like that, you negotiate with them kids all the time. It's like, if you don't go in here and eat this food,
Then we
or you
can
go do
do.
that, then we can do
Yep.
this, and then we can go here. We can go get you some ice cream or
Yep.
whatever it is if you
Yep.
do that. So it works all around. But yes, when you're negotiating, because even if you're going to rent an apartment, like, they're like, oh, the rent is $1,000 a month. It's like, okay, the rent's $1,000 a month, and you can negotiate like, hey, if I'm the one that shovels the snow, can you drop the rent to 950
Mhm.
or 900 or something like that, so that you get out there, shovel snow, whatever. But now you saving money. You saving $100 a month on your rent, which
Yeah.
is $1,200 a year, which you could do
Year.
so much more with that yourself.
Absolutely.
Even with
Absolutely.
a car, you can negotiate. You going to buy a car, you can negotiate oil changes, you can negotiate them giving you a subsidy and some money back on it or
Yes.
something like that. You can negotiate all those things. Gap insurance, have them pay for that.
Yes. Yep.
So you
Absolutely.
can ask. I think the biggest takeaway is that you have to ask, because if you don't open your mouth, what's not said, that is never going to be negotiated on, because you never said anything, and it's not going to
And
be offered.
that takes us perfectly into kind of our final question, and I'm going to
Mhm,
kind of put the camera on you for this because I think this is the piece where women get caught up because we
mhm,
feel nervous or
mhm.
intimidated or even guilty for asking for more. So, what would you tell a woman before she walks into that conversation? Like, what? How does she need to approach that conversation?
Yeah. And so I think a lot of times, especially depending on if you're talking to a woman versus going to talk to a man,
Hmm.
sometimes it's a little more intimidating to go and talk to a man. But you have to
Hmm.
get yourself into that mindset, whether you do your Superman pose for 5 minutes, however you want to do it, you have to get yourself into that mindset of I am worth this and I am worth more. And if I start with more, I will end with more. Because if you start a job at $50,000 versus negotiating and starting that job at $55,000, that may not seem like a lot, but when you add annual percentages on top of that, that increases exponentially.
Hmm.
And that only happens if you open your mouth. And no one's going to scold you, no one's going to kick you out because those are the things that were in my mind. It's like, oh my gosh, they're going to say no and they're going to get rid of me and I'm going to be out. Never, ever, 0 times has that ever happened to me. And I had to talk myself into it and talk myself into it and talk myself into it. And if you got to talk yourself into it and have that little conversation with yourself in your head, do it. When in doubt, blurt it out. Okay, that's the key thing. When in doubt, just blurt it out and just wait for the answer. Don't fill the air. Don't don't say things afterwards. Just blurt it out and wait for the answer. Even if it's an awkward silence, wait for the answer. And you will get
Ooh,
what you are asking for, or you will get some starting point of negotiation for what you are asking for.
gosh, I like that. I need that on a t-shirt. Just blurt it out. Uh, Gosh, that's
Mhm,
so good. Sora, thank you
mhm,
so much.
mhm,
And I would also be remiss if I didn't share with our audience that um, my Soror Shvonne was just recently appointed as our Diamond Foundation chair. And
mhm,
I am so excited to see what she does in developing our 501c3 and all of the amazing work that we want to do for our respective communities through their organization. So congratulations again.
mhm.
And
Thank
I
you.
am excited to see you shine in that area. Well, stay in the studio. I'm going to be right back with you. But thanks
Okay.
again for joining me. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that something was said that will help you in negotiating going forward. Not only is this hot pink pie for our sorors, but it's an offer to our community as well. That's why we're publishing it here as a part of the Hot Pink Pod. We are about sisterhood. We are about our sorority, but we're also about community empowerment and making sure that we share and educate our community on the things that can help elevate their standard of life. And this is definitely one of those things, as Soror Shvonne shared, that yes, it's about negotiating for a job or for salary, but these tactics that she shared, and I like wrote them down, whether it's data, practicing, understanding, and knowing your worth or value, you can use that across the board. So, as she mentioned, get in your Superman pose, ladies. Be confident in who you are and what you bring to the table, and don't be afraid to ask for more. So, on behalf of the Alpha Omega Lambda Sorority Incorporated and all of my sorors, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Hot Pink Pod. We look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.